You're listening to Experience This, a show about the emerging experience economy with your host, Tom Young.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Tom Young, sitting here with Kiran Bajwa. Hi,
Hey,
Kiran.
Tom. How's it going?
All right. Hey, so we've been talking a lot about the experience economy and focusing on experience, and I feel like we need to step back and clear, what we mean by that and use the term the way we were using it so it's clear to everybody. Because when we went to NRF, everyone's using the term. And the way we use it, we mean something slightly different.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is also in our logo, but Experience This. We have the balance of time versus money. And I think at some level, that's how we think about experience, which is the notion that we're going to optimize our time, but more so than we want to optimize our bank account.
Yeah.
You've heard me use the term. There comes a point in time in your life where you will say, I'm going to run out of time before I run out of money. And it's really understanding that algebra that focuses you on the experience economy.
Yeah. And I think we should explore a little bit about what is happening to today with people feeling anxious, depressed, chasing time.
Yeah. So part of the, we listened to this Awakenings video from Alan Watts, and you can see lots of versions of it on YouTube. But it's very interesting to listen to what he said about the isolation that digital technologies bring. And therein lies sort of the disruption. And what we're trying to do is say, how do we turn these technologies that create isolation, social isolation that leads to depression, anxiety, all the things you just mentioned, how do we turn them into making it a positive experience where I'm using these same tools but in a positive way?
Yeah. And I also think today, time do you also think it's an age thing? So when you're 19, 20, 21, time feels like it's on your side.
It is.
And it's, yeah.
For the avoidance of doubt, it is.
And then as you get older, the scarcity of time and the importance of time, there must be a turning point. Maybe it's late 30s, mid 40s. I don't know. But at some point, the paradigm shifts a little bit, right? And that balance on the icon of the seesaw of time and scale starts to tip slightly.
I would say when you're young, in their teens and early 20s, time is on your side, and you're typically long in time and short on money. When you get older, let's just pick the term, you get to 50, there's a realization at that midlife, major milestone that time is not on your side, and you're probably going to run out of time before you run out of money. And so you have to think about how you spend your time differently. Like we were running a calculation that said, I only have 1,000 Saturdays.
Yeah.
When you hit age 50, before you get, quote, old, where, you don't really care if it's Saturday or not. But anyway, 1,000 Saturdays, you got to think about how you spend your time. So why don't we clear this? We got 3 graphics here. It's a young, adult, and old. So young has time, a lot of time, no money, and lots of energy. And adult has little time, lots of money, and a lot of energy. And old has lots of time, lots of money, and no energy. So that's true. And we start to see each stage you have a deficiency in one thing. It's either time, money, or energy. I hadn't thought about the energy quotient. But that's an important thing to include in a paradigm of, why you wouldn't want to focus on a big pile of money, because by the time you get the time to enjoy it, you don't have the energy to enjoy it.
Yeah. But I think it shifts a lot of fundamental things in the way that we, for example, this whole marketing around saving for your 401k and saving for retirement, these future-based events. So it's work, 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 pile up your cash, and then someday this magical door is going to open and you'll be able to retire and be on the golf course all day.
So and that is the big lie.
Yeah.
So yesterday we were hanging out, and I showed you that Alan Watts thing that the South Park guys did. Mm-hmm. Right, and you can, again, if you type in Alan Watts South Park, you can go see. They basically took the South Park cartoon style and grabbed a few of Alan Watts's lectures. And anyway, he talked about life being metaphorically represented as a journey with a start and a finish, with a goal to get to the end. And basically that's the big lie, where he says the real truth is life is a song and you're supposed to sing and dance while it's playing. Yeah. So, which makes sense if you that's because that's when you have the energy, and it's really, you should step back and do that. So Tim Ferriss wrote a book.
Yes.
The 4-Hour Work Week.
Mm-hmm.
When was that book? It had to be about 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
about
probably.
10 years.
Right.
Maybe not so long. Maybe it was probably more than 10 years ago. Sean, why don't you look that up to see? Because I think I'm curious when that was. I think I read it around 2005, if I remember right. But in that, Ferriss really challenged the notion of retirement. He said, work, 2007, so it's 12 years ago. Very good book. I encourage people to go read it. It's relevant today as it was in 2007 when he wrote it. But he was focused on making money, doing a lot of things, and he had a sports supplement company.
Yeah.
And was working a lot of hours, probably making some good money, but he was miserable. He didn't enjoy what was going on, and he basically just checked out and with fully prepared to start over. And ended up his business started doing well because he empowered others to run it. And he talked about how he got his work week down to 4 hours. I don't think he literally did that. I think it's more of an icon. But he focused on his time on living and retiring in place and then going back to work and going in cycles rather than just one long work cycle. And then hopefully you can live long enough to enjoy the fruits of that.
Well, I think he was also one of the early guys who was tapping into the gig economy. And back to the notion of how can we leverage technology to help us. Today, you can outsource the stuff like putting together your IKEA desk, house cleaning, order stuff on Amazon Prime now in New York, where it can be delivered to you within 2 hours. Instacart, which can deliver your groceries to you from any supermarket in New York within 2 hours. All of these time-saving ventures. So, I
didn't think of that, but that's true. He did.
Yeah, he started outsourcing. He kind of had a personal assistant offshore.
He had dozens of them.
Yeah, even better.
Well, and in fact, that was one of the things he said in his book, is to take a number like $500 or a couple $100 and go hire an assistant.
Yeah, and he did say
to learn how to do it.
Yeah, and he said you have to, the upfront work in ramping the investment and ramping that person up, that's there. So you've got to put in that investment. But once they're up and running, he was just smooth sailing after that.
Right. So he wrote some wild stuff in the book. Like he went to, it was almost like I think he fashioned himself a bit as a life hacker.
Yeah.
And he went to Argentina and hung out with some gal and learned ballroom dancing and actually competed for the Argentina tango competition and got into the finals. And that's how he was using his time. He was hiring people to teach him Spanish. And, that's how he used his time. And he took the money he was making and he paid other people to do stuff for him. And it was really what I'll call micro sourcing. And he said it's not easy to do, but when you do figure it out, it can save you a lot of time. And what we talk about with the experience economy is, what do you do with that time?
Yeah.
And how do you think about it? Do you value it?
Yeah, and I think the idea of, so if you start to free up some of those pockets of time, are you using them for enriching experiences, or are you burning away watching Netflix for 3 hours?
If I put $1 next to an hour, a dollar amount, let's just say an hour of if you had free time, say you're somebody who works all the time and you have 2 hours on a Saturday. What's that 2 hours worth to you monetarily? I mean, is it worth $100? Let's just use $100 as a metaphor. So it's $100 for those 2 hours. And you say, well, and the reason is because the 2 hours are sparse. I got to work all the time. I got to sleep. I got kids. I got dinner. I got chores and stuff like that. So those 2 hours I'm going to say use $100. The issue really becomes, where else in your life can you create 2 hour pockets by paying somebody else that same $100 to free up that time? And if your time's not worth $100, then fill it with the mundane things like going to the store and buying stuff or mowing the lawn or doing the things, if that's what you want to do.
But the beauty of it is it doesn't even cost $200 anymore. Going to the grocery store, if we're putting $200 on...
in time.
Yeah, in time.
It does.
Okay.
If I have to go to the grocery store, it's a minimum of 1 hour. I have to get in my car. I have to drive there.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
I have to park. Mm-hmm. I have to navigate the store, check out, get it in the car, bring it home, put it away. Minimum 1 hour. More likely more. Let's just call it 2 hours if I have a decent grocery list. So the cost of the groceries is not even part of the $100. I just burned $100 worth of time.
But all I'm saying is, in that exact scenario, you can now save time and spend $7.98 to Instacart and save yourself those 2 hours.
Right. So people will say, what's more expensive? My argument is you're not including the cost of your time.
Yes.
And so this gets into, go back to the icon of this podcast when you look at the artwork. It is a balance that shows time and money in opposition. And if you start to think about the decisions you make economically about the way you spend money and the way you spend time, is, at some level you pay for convenience. And putting time and putting a dollar amount next to time allows you to do the algebra.
So I think in cities, the way that you kind of see that quite a bit is people's choice in where they live. So a lot of people might now, once they have money to do it, they might say, I actually would pay an extra $500 a month in rent to be within walking distance of where I need to work versus saving money, living out in Queens and taking a 30-minute subway ride each way into the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quite interesting. And I also wonder if you had to ask people, would you take a pay cut to have more time in your life? Or would you say, I'll work the extra hours because I want to bank cash and make more money? That probably depends on where you are in life, maybe. Maybe when you're 20, you're thinking, screw it, I'm going to...
I think you're right on. I don't think you should presuppose an answer. I think the issue is asking the question in the first place.
Yeah.
So the presumption that there's almost a built-in presumption that if you can have the opportunity to make money, you should go do it. Oh, let's go do this. We're gonna make $200, or we're gonna make $500 or $1,000. And to me, at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. At what cost?
All right. I don't want to go do that. Like I've been offered in our consulting business. I've been offered significant amount of money to go do certain projects, and I turned them down. And they were, at some level, they were a little stunned. Like, why would you turn this down? And like, I just don't want to do. I don't want to do what you're asking me to do, and the money is not compensation for overcoming that. If they gave me a lot more money, I would have probably have done it.
Yeah.
But it was good money. It just wasn't enough for me to overcome that when I had other alternatives to make similar money and do things I like.
And a lot of times, it's not even just there's the hours that you spend at work, but it's the thoughts that are consumed thinking about work or thinking about what you have to do. That's the biggest thing. So that could be 9, 10, 11, 12 p.m. into midnight.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And so you have to add up those hours as well into the whole equation.
Right. So another phenomenon that's interesting, or just an observation, when people start out working, they get a certain amount of vacation time, but they don't have necessarily the money to go do cool things. And when they get the money to go do it, they have the vacation time, but they don't have the ability to use it well. Right. So, like when I was in mid-career in corporate life, I had 5-6 weeks of vacation. I was never able to use it because you just couldn't get away from work. You're caught up in a rat race, and I just see the folly of that in hindsight. I look back on that, like, why didn't I go to Portugal and go to that? Sean's laughing because he just went to Portugal, had a great time, but I never did that, and now I look back on that and I regret that. And so a part of these podcasts is we really want to get people to think about, why aren't they going to Portugal?
Yeah, why not they?
And it's not just Portugal, it's why not a lot of things. Right.
Yeah.
And put a value on your time. What's your time worth? And if you're 50 years old, you have 1,000 Saturdays before you're too old to have the energy to do a lot of things. And if only where you live, only 15% of those 1,000 Saturdays you're going to have nice weather, you only have 150 nice Saturdays. And so a nice Saturday, you don't want to let it go by without you thinking, hey, this is awesome. I'm going to go do something, and pushing it off. Because another paradigm is people will say, oh, we'll do it next time.
Yeah, we have.
And there is no next time. There's only now.
Tomorrow.
No, there's only now. There's another time, but it's not this time. This time is you either do it or you don't.
Well, we talk about that. It's a big notion of people ping-ponging between what I should have done and what I should do. Yeah.
So at the end, the regret, there's two forms of regret. Regret of doing something that you shouldn't have done, and the regret of not doing something you should have done.
The worst is what you should have done.
And they both are real.
Yes.
One's worse than the other. Which one do you think is worst for you?
I should have taken a chance and done that.
So it's the regret of omission.
Yes.
Yeah. Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
That's haunting.
Yeah. Because that never goes away. You get over, like, I was drunk. I did something. I was young. I shouldn't have done that. I had no idea that was illegal. You get over that. Mm-hmm. But you don't get over not doing something.
Well, because it's almost, you don't know, had you given a shot, what your potential could have been.
Yeah. So we see that with people, whether it be writing a book, going to Portugal, joining the circus, whatever it might be, things that you could have done. I would encourage people not to have those errors of omission, which is a haunting regret.
I think we need to spend a Saturday in a nursing home and talk to some of our fellow friends.
Yeah, Jordan, our sound engineer, mentioned that that's a good way to cure of any concerns you think that you want to be conservative about life, and talk to the people at the nursing homes about the regrets that they have. Very few of them, as they age, regret for the misadventures that they might have done. Mm-hmm. Those are part of life, versus the things that they never did that they should have done. Yeah. So it's you want to be thoughtful. For me, I look at the way I act. If I have free time, I'm very spontaneous, and that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. But it also blocks as much as it opens up. And what do I mean by that? In order to do some of the fun stuff, it requires a lot of social coordination. Yeah. Right? If I'm going to be spontaneous, you can only do it with a small group of people. Maybe one other person, maybe a couple. It's hard to be spontaneous with a larger group. Right. You have to plan because everybody's got their time, stuff like that. So, what was it, last year? Mm-hmm. Was it last year, I think?
Yeah, last summer.
Was it 2017? No, it was 2017.
Oh, crap.
See, time's going by. We're missing these.
I know.
But when I came into the conference room, everyone looked frazzled, and I'm like, all right, let's go to the eclipse. And that was like on a Wednesday, and we left that weekend and just drove to the eclipse, and we went down to Tennessee.
It was like 16 hours one way.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I'm saying that was a fun, spontaneous trip. But those are hard to come by. In fact, the last one we did was 18 months ago, apparently. But and then we took the group last summer we went to Bermuda. That was planned. Mm-hmm. We took everybody and went on a cruise to Bermuda. That was a lot of fun. Yep. Right? You agree?
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of fun.
Great fun.
So but we need to figure out how to do more of those things.
Yeah.
You know?
But so it goes to show both of them, the outcome, we still had fun on both of them, right? But it's the dance and the journey along the way, I would say, for taking the road trip down to Tennessee was a lot more enjoyable than for the cruise we planned it, right? So there's no off the beaten path journey part of it.
Yeah. So when we think about, again, get to a point of wrapping this session up, you know, we talk again about when we say the word experience, we mean it in a way of optimizing your time as part of your happiness quotient, as opposed to letting money dominate your decisions around how you spend your time. So that could be, I got to go to work, I got to make money, and you have to do some of that. Mm-hmm. But it also could be, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go save a nickel, $1, $50 on the purchase of something, and I'm going to go spend a lot of time pursuing that. Or I have to go do this chore, I have to get this done, versus I could pay somebody to do it for me. And again, in the business world, I use the example of the $1,000 helicopter ride. You say, I can't be at this meeting and that meeting. And you could if you took a helicopter to get from one to the other and beat the traffic. And it costs $1,000. And people say, oh, I can't do that. Well, what if the meeting's worth much more than that? You're choosing not to do that because you're not thinking about spending money to optimize your time and the use of it. So using your time to go to this maybe important business meeting is worth $1,000. Mm-hmm. I mean, you wouldn't think twice about spending $1,000 on a plane ticket for a planned event somewhere that may not be as valuable. So again, we want to just challenge people to incorporate time in their value equations in terms of how they design their life, the decisions they make about where they spend their time, and not just let money be the sole driver.
Yep, take the power back.
There you go. And we're going to talk more about different experiences and then the tools around us that we can use to help us make better decisions, and break the mold of our classical thinking that says that life is a journey, not a dance.
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely.
Any parting thoughts?
No, that's it. Have a good weekend.
Soon.
Talk
Great,
to you
thanks.
soon.
Bye.
Hey, this is Karen Bajwa. Thanks for checking out the show today. If you like what you heard, head on over to our website, rumjog.com. If you happen to be in the New York or New Jersey area, come check out our meetup called Digital Disruption. We cover topics like you heard today with a live audience. Lastly, don't forget to follow us on social media using the handle @rumjog. Talk to you soon.